All righty. Hi. Hi, Buff.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. It's great to finally have you on. I know we were talking the last couple of days about doing this and very excited to have a conversation with you.
I love it. I love doing these kind of things. I've always been very transparent and just always I found a lot of happiness with being transparent. Even in the bad days, I was never uh, I never tried to hide it. I was always very a very warm feeling about always being transparent.
Perfect. All righty. So, like I was talking to you over the phone, I want to take a little bit of a different angle than you're probably used to. I know everyone always asks about the same old matches, the same old things. And although that's very interesting, and I was a big fan myself when I was younger, I want to know a little bit more about your entrepreneurial side. And I'm interested to see, the insides and outs and a little bit more of behind the scenes. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get started.
I love it.
All righty, cool. All right, so I did a little background on you, and first off, the dark side of the ring, that was very interesting. I think they did a good job with that.
It really did. I was very happy with that thing. It's a pretty crazy story, and so you hearing that in the you know in the world, it would be a little hard to swallow, I think. But by the way they allow me to tell it, and by the way they also told it, at least had a rhyme to the reason.
Yeah, I agree.
But they did a great job.
Yeah. So what I did look into, your family, they owned a lumber yard. Am I correct? Down in
Yep.
Georgia. All right, great.
Southeastern Building Supply.
There you go. So that in itself, your family ran a business. They were entrepreneurs as well. Now, how did that affect you growing up? Did you get any inspiration of that? The fact that they weren't working a typical 9 to 5, that they ran their own thing? Tell us a little bit about that.
Great question. Great question. So from a young age, we in a very non cocky world, non attitude world. We were told we were going to be somebody from a young age. We had all the things. We knew we thought we had all the things it took. Like we had looks, we had athletic ability. Um, here our parents were making millions of dollars a month in the 70s and 80s. That was unheard of back then. And so we, from a young age, were going to be something. We were going to be something that led things. We were going to be a leader of some sort. Um, the company, even though wonderful, growing up under the umbrella of Southeastern Building Supply, making millions of dollars, was wonderful. But looking back on it, where our parents may have made a mistake is not having us do something for ourselves.
Mm.
From a very young age, again, we were going to graduate high school and go to work for the lumber business. I think where the fumble or the disconnect came in was, who wants to go to school as a freshman, like my brother, college, you know, or you got the option of doing that or being a millionaire in Marietta, Georgia, and be the boss. It's a Looking back on it for my brother, it's a no brainer. He should have went to school. He had a full ride to East Tennessee State. He was going to be the second string running back as a freshman. That coach even came back to him because the guy ahead of him got hurt, and Stevie was going to be the first string guy. And I remember that. I'll never forget it. My mom and dad moved Stevie up there, wanted him to get some schooling and stuff, and to go to college because he wanted to play pro football. And I was 6 years younger than my brother, and 6 years growing up is a lot. It's a lot of difference. So I don't remember all of it, but I do remember just being excited that my brother was going to play college football and going to be a pro athlete because my brother was really good. And he wasn't gone. He wasn't gone 2 weeks. He had his own house. Nobody has a house at college.
Yeah.
My brother was married and had a home at college, a house, and his wife with him at college. Everybody else is in the dorm, splitting rooms. And he was there no more than a month. And he was back home because he was a freshman starting over and he didn't like it. And he could be that guy or be a boss, a lumberyard owner and be a millionaire again. And the same thing happened with my middle brother. I'm watching both of these guys transfer from high school to the job of Southeastern, and it's going great. They've got houses, they've got wives, they got children, and everybody's happy. But I'm in school still. And the same thing happens to me. I have a 1.8 grade point average. School was not a big thing to my parents. As long as we graduated, they didn't care. They wanted us to be good in sports and graduate. That's all they cared. And if we graduated, all they wanted us to have the diploma so we could go work for them. It was never schooling was never a thing under the Bagwell roof. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't. It wasn't a thing. So as long as we could graduate, I mean, my brother quit high school and along the way, and my father had to pay him $500 to graduate. So, I mean, it was just schooling wasn't a big, my father he lied about this, but because he was embarrassed about it. My father quit school in the 10th grade. So he was a self-made multimillionaire high school dropout. So schooling just wasn't a big deal for us. And I know schooling's big and everybody knows schooling's big, but it wasn't to us because we had Southeastern Building Supply. The problem is at 18, you don't realize that that's putting all your eggs in one basket, man. But it was a well-oiled machine. It was, I mean, nothing had happened to it in 17 years. What could happen to it in the next couple of years? So it was just unbelievably successful. But my father had a relationship with a woman behind my mother's back, and all three boys knew who it was. And looking back on it, I think my mother knew who it was. But I think just mother was just one of those old school wives that everybody's happy. There's no reason to rock the boat. My husband's home every night with me. He's here for the holidays. And I think she just rolled with it old school wise. I even told on my father when I was about 12, and nothing came of it except he threatened me to never say it again. But it was just kind of a known thing. But the one thing my father bet on that he verbally told me, he said, I don't think your mother will ever punish you boys. And she can't punish me without punishing you boys. And he was wrong. He was wrong. She finally, and I'm not sure what happened, but she finally got mad about the situation and let it slack a lot. And by the time that she realized she had let the company slack, I was there the day that she brought the paperwork to my father, and he saw it and he was like, close the doors.
Wow.
Close the doors. And she goes, oh no, Steve, I can fix it. I can fix it. I'm sorry. I can fix it. So my dad went all the way in with her, house, land, everything. And it didn't work. So we lost everything, 1988. So my father had enough money to get my brother into something, both my brothers into something, and me into something, a little something. So my oldest brother wanted a gym. He bought it for him. My middle brother wanted a drywall company. He bought it for him. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I'm 18 years old, and I just found out we went broke. What do you do? So my mother came up with massage therapy. And it sounded like I was always massaging the women's shoulder at the lumber business,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed doing it. I would massage my mom and dad. I had real strong hands and all the things. I thought it was a great idea, and in the middle of me taking that on and finding out that women were self conscious about letting a attractive male massage them.
Mm.
I mean, I had no idea that would happen, but it did. And I roadblocked on the female side of things. And so it wasn't going to be a very successful thing. And that's what transferred me into pro wrestling. But very successful growing up, seeing nothing but success, how to run a company. We were going to be part of something successful called Southeastern Building Supply. We were going to be lumber owners, and from a very young age. But we just never planned on. We never had a plan B.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. It's good to actually hear the story with that. Now, I'm assuming you worked there as a younger kid. Myself, I grew up in a family of all people who own construction companies, and I know working with them, there was things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it. And when you were working there, did you aspire to be like your father, or that you still felt deep down that I don't know if this is the end game here? Do I want to stay here my whole life?
I think I was too young. That question probably could be answered by my two brothers,
Mm.
but I never heard it. They were always excited about doing it. Um, like anything else, you kind of forget where you're. I think if they had to do it over, they would have worked much harder. But I do remember my mom coming. You got to remember when it was over, I was 18. So I was playing around up there with a forklift and stuff, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know about the working with, writing orders and all that. But like, I remember stuff like my dad, it would be like 4:59 and my brother would be closing up. And my dad says, "Where are you going?" And my brother go, "I got to work out." And he goes, "You ain't working out tonight.
Yeah.
You ain't working out." He goes, "Open the gates, get your pen, and get your ass back out. We're going to work." So that's what I saw at a young age, which was my father trying to pass the ball, a multi-million-dollar company, trying to show them how to run it, but they were too worried to close the store at 4:59. You know,
Yeah.
and again, I look at it and I would have done it different, but I was 10 years old, so it was like I couldn't say, "Hey, Stevie, you should listen to Daddy." Can't do that at 10. But I do remember my father having a hard time
Mm.
with not getting Steve and John excited. He would say, "Guys, you got a house each because of the store. You drive a Corvette, you drive any car you want. What are y'all doing, man?" And I
Yeah.
remember my mom coming to my father and saying, "Get them away from me." She goes, "I'd rather you pay them and just keep them away from me. They're worse here for me than you think. They're better if they're out of my sight." So that was going on. I remember at the end, just nobody was really helping mom. Mom was best just left alone.
I
And
see.
I think them trying to run it, they would become friends with the employees, and the employees would complain to my brothers, and my brothers would take that to my mom, and she was like, "Look, I don't care what they said." So they were causing more friction for
Gotcha.
my mom than my dad realized, and he would intervene, talk to them, and it would be okay for a couple of months, and it would be worse, and it'd be okay for a couple months, then it'd be worse, until finally it all came to a head, and mom just let it slack a little much. At the end, what happened is mom signed about a $5 million loan,
Mm.
and my dad could have sent three bankers to prison for the rest of their lives but my mom would have gone with them.
Gotcha.
And so the bankers did it because they knew that. And my mom did it because they knew that it just was all kind of in it
Yeah.
together. My
Yeah.
mom was a real good salesman, but she knew. So these bankers forged my father's name for their. My dad would have never borrowed that money, and that was the thing that took us down. And so you couldn't. I remember one of the bankers' names was Jerry Dennis, Woodstock banker, and he had been one of those guys that would have been in trouble, would have gone to prison. But my mom would have gone also. So my dad couldn't do anything about it, and so we lost everything in 1988.
Gotcha. So let's kind of stay right at that era of like 17, 18 years old. Tell me about like how were you in high school? I know you were, once you had the character of Buff, very motivated out there, good looking guy. But high school, were you good with the girls? Were you confident like that? Or is that something you kind of developed as you went on?
No, I was like that from a young age. I remember, from a very young age, it was about being good looking. It was about, I mean, I was modeling. I was, I mean, it ain't like I didn't know I was an attractive kid. I was aware of that, but I was very humble. I mean, I was cocky, but I wasn't like overbearing cocky. Anybody that ever met Mark Bagwell, I didn't meet too many people that met me and didn't like me. Now, a rumor that I did something, they look at the way I look and go, oh, yeah, he definitely did that millions of times. But no, I haven't never had anybody meet me one on one
Yeah.
and actually say, this is what he did and I don't like him. It just don't happen a lot, if ever. And so I was a good kid from a young age, but I was an attractive kid and I knew that. But so dating and stuff like that was cool. But sports were the highest thing in the world to us. So at 12 or 13, I won the Golden Glove State Championship boxing. I was 61 and 1, and I was the Golden Glove State champion. And I'm not sure what I got into that for, but I loved it. And then I was the next. They went from weight to age, and I was very skinny
Okay.
for my age.
Yeah.
So when I went pound for pound fighting, I was tough. But when I fought my age, I was light, so I'd get beat up pretty good. So when I started getting beat up, I was going to take a year off and come back. But high school girls and
Yeah.
and cars happened, and but very very motivated sports wise, all county, all state football and baseball, and just played sports and loved them and watched my brothers play. And I really believe if we would have been raised a little different, meaning we had great parents, but I mean raised the way of saying, hey, school's important and you're going to go to school before you come work at Southeastern. I really believe that my brother John could have played pro baseball. He did a walk on tryout for the Atlanta Braves.
Wow.
It was a 2,000-person tryout. They asked 100 people to come back. He was one of the 100, and he went drag racing with my father and missed the tryout.
Really?
So yeah, and I was there front seat on that one, and I just couldn't believe it. I said, John, why aren't you going to the tryout? Yeah, I'm gonna go drag racing with Dad. And I remember just going, what? But keep in mind, we're rich. So who cares? It wasn't as big of a deal because we were rich. Anybody's story you hear that is successful, they've got that story of the drive they had because of their upbringing, because they were broke. Their parents were broke and they were tired of suffering. So they did single A baseball and double A and triple A to try to make it. My brother John didn't want to do all that. He didn't want to do it. And my brother Steve didn't want to be a freshman. He wanted to play for a pro football team, make millions of dollars. He didn't want to do the leg work. And neither did my brother John because we were rich. I really believe. I have no idea what would have happened to me. I don't. But I'm telling you, my two brothers would have been playing pro sports. Um, if they were in a situation different than being rich.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see where you're coming from on that because a lot of the drive with anything in life, even entrepreneurship, anything, it's the money. Everyone could
Sure.
try to act like, all right, I'm passionate, even though passion has a play, but a big play is the money, the cars, the woman, the houses. And when you already have that, I could assume it would be very hard to kind of kick your ass into gear.
I mean, even thinking back on it, what I'm saying is not easy to say. I'm really giving an example because you just don't know. But our father was a professional drag racer, Hall of Fame drag racer. So it was nothing cooler in the world than
Yeah,
to go with my father to the drag races because he was somebody and we had money. So it was cool, you know, and he was powerful and good at the drag racing. So it was a really great ride, that nobody did anything wrong. It's just kind of like my life. One of the only things that could happen would be Vince buying WCW. And one of the only things that could happen in my father's life happened. So it was just like a bad luck, you know, one apple spoiled the bunch kind of thing.
gotcha. Now, really quick till I segue to another thing, just because I'm really big into cars. You mentioned the drag racing. I know growing up, I was a motorhead building things. And so what was your high school car? You had a nice muscle car. What did you think?
My my brothers were more about the drag racing,
Gotcha.
and the muscle cars than I was. My brothers always had a real cool fixed up car, some kind of Hemi with slicks on the back, and
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I didn't. I enjoyed going with my father, but both my brothers tried and did drag racing. They loved it. They had sports cars that were souped up and take the heads off and how loud they were and burnouts and
Yeah.
everything we did, we drag race, whether it was sprinting or racing our motorcycles or racing our go-karts. We drag raced everything. But for me, we were also country folk. We were deer hunters, four-wheel drive people. So
Gotcha.
my high school car was in 1984, I think. It could be 85, but I think four. 1984 was the first year of the new Corvette body style.
Yes, yes.
I had in 1985. So the second year of the new body style I drove to school at 15 years old, a 1985 red Corvette. So I'm going to school in a red Corvette at 15, and I'm playing in my cassette deck Little Red Corvette by Prince. You can't tell me I'm not cool. I'm the coolest thing on the planet.
Love that. All right, great. So let's go back to you're 18 years old, whole place, everything's kind of shutting down. You're kind of figuring out what you want to do. You get into massage therapy. So are you working for a practice? Did you go out on your own? Did you try to start your own business with that? Or like really quick, because I know that was short lived relatively, right?
Well, the class took 10 months. So it
Gotcha.
was 10 months all day long, $10,000 to go to the Atlanta School of Massage. I graduated number one in my class, and I got hired by the number one place in Atlanta. And it wasn't Sports Authority. Sports Authority like a sporting goods place,
Yeah.
but like Dick's back in the old days. But it was another thing called Sports Timing or Sports something, and so, corporate sports. And I've got no idea how I just thought about that, but I'm 100% right. Corporate Sports was a company that massaged at nice big places, like not gyms, like athletic clubs. And that's where the money was. Like a lot of money for massage therapists would be at a sporting club, like an athletic club, the Galleria Athletic Club, the Buckhead Athletic Club, Atlanta Athletic Club. These are all legitimate athletic clubs that was very nice with older people.
Mm.
So one of the first things I got, one of the first appointments I've got, I went to the appointment. We had beepers, and they would beep us. They would beep you for the appointment. I got beeped, called back. Yes, I'll be there. Pulled up. I'm in there waiting, my table set up, everything. The lady walks in, and before a word is even spoke, she turns around and walks out. And so I'm very good with people, always have been. I follow her right out. I go, ma'am, what's the problem? She goes, there's no way I'm taking my clothes off in front of you. And I said, oh, no, 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 ma'am, no, ma'am. I step out, and she goes, no, no, no. You're not seeing me with my shirt. There's no, I'm like, and I mean, looking back, I swear, looking back on this one, this was the first client I had after 10 months of school. And I swear to God, when I think back on this, it was day one, even though I fought hard, it was day one of massage therapy was over. But because I just didn't realize I fought it, but I was like, oh no, man, we did. Well, that lady didn't get a massage. And slowly, again, the light bulb went off, but I didn't listen. Slowly, the next woman that came, same thing. Why won't you let me massage you? I may have some fat on my back. I heard my husband would kill me. I'm insecure. I heard everything that you could hear. I probably did this for 6 months, which is a long time of negativity. Yeah. But I bet you in 6 months, I bet you I didn't massage 3 women.
Oh, wow.
And so what I thought my whole life, going back, we just went back to my looks at a young age. Looks played a part of my life, my whole life. And all of a sudden, looks are a bad thing. I couldn't wrap my head around it, man. I was like, wait a second. My whole life, my looks were going to get me somewhere, and instead, it's getting me. It's getting me what I don't want. This is crazy. So I even dug deeper trying to make it work. I would go to hair salons, and I would massage at the nail salons. At my nail salons, I would massage their shoulders while they were getting their nails done for like $5 or $10 just to build trust up. And I would build the trust at that one salon. So it was just too much work to get a few people. And still, it didn't help a whole lot, or I would have continued to do it. It still was the beginning of the end. And it blew my mind why somebody along the way wouldn't have said, hey, bro, you being good looking is going to be a bad thing with massage therapy. When have you ever heard something bad behind being good looking? You just don't. But buddy, I'm telling you, a good looking male massage therapist is a bad thing if you're trying to make a career out of it. Because if you don't have, in pro wrestling, if you don't have men and women cheering you or booing you, you're not going to be successful in anything. If you don't have men and women, you're not going to be successful. And from a very quick age, I was not going to have that. So when I was at the pool one day trying to figure out what to do with my life because of this, and that's when I met Missy Hyatt, and she gave me the idea to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah. And that you already covered that, which I know other videos have covered that well. And that's just such a fun fact of just serendipity of it always works out that way. You get that idea, and then someone, whether it's God, whether it's just the universe, goes right in front of you, and then boom.
Well, what you're saying is what I really, really, really believe. I challenge everybody listening to this, and I challenge you as well. If you really are honest and you slowly go through what you're doing for a living, you will see, I think you will see that it picked you. You may say, oh, no, I want to do this, and I was going to do that. If you really take it slowly, whatever happened to be doing what you're doing to make a living today, it chose you. And I've never been proved wrong with that. And buddy, but mine was just a little more easily to say that because I was out of pool and womb, it happened. But truly, I really figured out from that, and every person I've ever asked to do this, I have been correct on it, and that is that what happens usually picks you for the living.
Great. Buff too, I could edit this out. I just realized because this is a new account. We have like 10 minutes on here.
Okay.
So if we do cut off, I'll just send
Yeah.
you another link and then we'll continue it. All right.
When it goes off, just send me another link and I'll come
No
back
problem.
on.
All right,
Perfect.
great. So I agree with everything you just said. Now, you met Missy Hyatt, you get into the wrestling now. At this point, are you already in killer shape? I know you were working out. You had an older brother that had a gym. Are you already at the point where you're already, quote unquote, buff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So in middle school, so I would have been, let's see, 14, 13, 11, 12, 13 is middle school. I remember being extremely self-conscious that I was skinny. I didn't feel skinny up here, even though I was, but all kids were kind of skinny up here. I felt like my legs they got made fun of a lot of times. I remember girls and boys. I was a popular kid. I was tough. I would get in fights, and both boys and girls knew I was a tough kid, attractive kid, but my legs got made fun of a little bit, and I was really self-conscious about it. So at 11 years old, I remember wearing long johns under my blue jeans to make my jeans look tighter. Back in that day, they didn't have those jeans that fit. Like now, you can order a pair of jeans; they fit everybody. That wasn't. I'm old enough that wasn't the case. So I remember I had a pair of Lee jeans that fit me just right, and I would crease a crease in the middle of it, and I wore a pair of long johns underneath them to make the jeans look tighter. And that was, I mean, I dead of summer, brother. Dead of summer, I'd be sweating, but I didn't care. My jeans looked better on me. So I was really like upset, sick a little bit about my weight and all that. But I tried the protein shakes, didn't understand, and I would eat till I was sick and didn't work. All the stuff you hear about kids trying to gain weight didn't work. But from when I hit a freshman in high school, I then started working out and thinking, I want to change my body. And, so from a very young age, I was definitely, I was going to fix the way I looked. And I was skinny and I wanted to fix it. So by the time when Missy Hyatt saw me, from the time of me being, skinny as a rail, 145 pounds sophomore, I was 145 pounds sophomore. In 3 months with anabolic steroids, I went from 145 to 175. I gained 30 pounds under a doctor's supervision with anabolic steroids, but I mean, legal, doctor giving them to me. I gained 30 pounds over summer break. And it's really weird. You don't know anybody that's gained 30 pounds in 3 months before. But let me tell you what happens. You don't know it. The person that gains the weight doesn't know it. I felt just as skinny looking in the mirror as I did 2 months before. I go back to school, and when you see 30 pounds put on 145,
yeah,
it's a big deal, bro. I stepped out of the car at school grounds, and it was like, oh my God, what did you do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh my God, you look great. So from instantly,
yeah.
Can you imagine how wonderful it felt to be talked about being a muscular guy? Brother, I was on a planet that didn't exist. And I'm getting rewarded from it. Well, then the next year comes out 20 specials, high school kids and steroids. I go, hello, that wasn't me, So, the coaches went from excited about me to parents complaining, why is he starting? Why is he He
Yeah.
took steroids, all from a very young age. It was a battle, but yeah. So when Missy Hyatt saw me, I would say I was in extremely good shape, but a smaller kid, probably 185, 190, but a muscular, good looking, good, like a bodybuilder kid.
Gotcha. Right. All right. So, Buff, I'm going to cut it there just so we don't get
Yeah,
caught. This
do
is going to
that.
segue to the next thing. All
I'll see
righty.
you in a minute.
Sure. I'm good.
So you ask about my name, and there is a story to my name, and it's pretty good. It's my whole life my real name was Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and I remember being ashamed of Marcus. I didn't like that. I don't like the way it sounded, and Alexander, that sounds like you're you know a, like a nerd
Yeah.
hey Alexander. I just didn't think it was cool at all. Nobody even knew my middle name. Like most people don't know middle names, but my middle name was never mentioned. And then from the time of kindergarten to graduation, I was Mark Bagwell. And I mean, from graduation, I mean, from kindergarten to 20 years old, I was Mark Bagwell. Unless I was in trouble by my mother, then it was Marcus. And I would say, Watus. And then I would get beat. But truthfully, never Marcus unless I was in trouble. Gotcha. Every doctor appointment, everything I went, I was Mark Bagwell. Well, enters wrestling. And I'm talking to Dusty. I'm coming into the business. And he says, I love your name. I thought, oh, thank you, man. I'll tell my parents. He goes, no. I want to use it. And I go, Dusty, please, no. No, bro. I don't, please, no, Dusty. No, especially back then. This is 30 years ago, man. Yeah. 35 years ago. Back then, I can tell you, it was all about having a gimmick. And it still is, but a name was part of it. You wanted a cool name, and Flying Brian, Stunning Steve Austin, Sting, the Total Package, Lex Luger, yeah. Johnny B. Bad, Van Hammer. These are all the guys I'm seeing. And now I'm going to be Marcus Alexander Bagwell. I was devastated. And my parents were so excited. They were so excited. They loved it. And I can see how parents would love that. I did not. So I remember the first time I won a match, Rhubarb Jones was our announcer. And he goes, and the winner of the match is Mark Alexander Bagwell. And I go straight to Dusty. I go, Dusty, if you're going to call me by my name, my real name's Marcus. And he goes, he jerked his headset off. He goes, wait a minute. That sounds even better. And I was like, oh, my God. So it flowed better. Marcus Alexander Bagwell, But it was born, man. That was it. Rookie of the year, Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And then, so to answer your question, wrestlers either call me Marcus or Buff.
Gotcha.
I never hear Mark anymore unless it's a true friend of mine. So if somebody asks me, what do I prefer? I really don't care from my heart, but Mark makes me feel good. It's like, I am Mark Bagwell.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's good to know. All right. So back to when we were talking about when Missy already saw you, you're already in shape. You're around 195, 200 pounds, in good shape. The reason I asked you is because what I always tell people I work with as well is that when people look at someone, and I'm sure you would agree, and they're in shape, regardless of athletes or whatever the case may be, people, I know I do, subliminally, I have more respect for them. This is someone who's waking up. This is someone who's working out. They're getting to work. They care about what they look like. They care about their appearance, how they look good. And I personally like to do business with people, not to say I wouldn't with people who are out of shape, but more so I found that successful people happen to be in shape because there's a regimen behind it. You're eating clean, you're working out. Now, would you say that your workout life, did that help you in terms of just like regimens throughout the day, becoming a successful individual? Would you find that that helped you along the way?
I think the parallel is uncanny.
Yeah.
So I literally, to this day, I keep notes. I have an overall where every thought that goes in my head, I've got on paper, from WWE goals to what. I don't keep nothing in my head. I put it on paper. And each day I have a sticky pad that I put 5 or 6 things on off of my brain notes. And
Mm.
I work on those 5 things that day. I even number the way I'm going to do it so it makes sense. Like, okay, tomorrow I'll work out first, and that way I can tan second and then pick up the laundry third. And then I even number it. That kind of dedication is what it takes to look like a buff Bagwell, man. It's,
Yeah.
people can say steroids and all that. They've got no. It's just all they're doing is they're sounding ignorant because they've got no idea that steroids has got nothing to do with the way your abs look.
Agreed.
Steroids doesn't matter with your abs. You just can't look that certain way. The way that I looked as Buff Bagwell for years was because of being dedicated and knowing your body and knowing how to eat a certain amount of carbs and certain amount of cardio and the dedication and time it takes to put in there. You're exactly right. It shows that that person has the ability to maybe not be a better person, like to do the job or something, but I can tell you he is a kind of person that could be dedicated to a topic if he's interested in it. It may not be about my body, but I take the same regimen about my body as doing work around the house. I get it together and I number it, but I'm that kind of a person. But yes, I believe with all of my heart that if you see a person that's in shape, you can bet the apple don't fall far from the tree. They're going to have a pretty decent car. They'll have a pretty decent place they live. They're going to have a decent job. They're not just going to be, drunk losers. There's going to be a
Agreed.
story behind it.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, if you can't respect yourself, in my opinion, how do you expect other people to respect you?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Unpopular opinion in today's day and age. However, it's the truth that no one wants to admit.
Well, that's the big thing, Philip, is that nobody wants to admit anything, and that's
Yeah.
why transparency is, to me, is just so key. I really didn't. I wasn't trying to be I wasn't trying to be honest to be a better person at first.
Yeah.
I was being honest because I felt like it. I'm going back like to, 14, 15, 16, when you first start lying to girls or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, it was one lie. It took 10 more lies that you had to remember and go through it. And every guy and girl that's listening to this has done this. Somewhere at a very young age, like 16, 17, I remember going, man, this is too much work.
Yeah, it
This
is.
is too much work. And then I learned that not only by telling the truth, it's less work. You're a good person from it. It
Agreed.
was a no brainer to me, man. Being honest is something people don't like, man. There's people out there that don't want to be told that they got a booger in their nose.
Yeah.
There is, brother. It blows my mind, but there is. And I'm the kind of person that's going to let you know if you've got a booger in your nose. I do know a lot of people like that kind of person, but there is some that do not. And, so from a very quick point, you're going to like or dislike Mark Bagwell real quick because I am me the first minute you meet me, and you either like what I do or you don't pretty quick.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So we got that underway. Now you're getting into wrestling. You go
Okay.
through the training. You're going through it. There's all stories out there of the beginning stages. So you start coming into your own money, right? That now this is yours. This is
Okay.
not inherited. This is like, all right, money's coming. This is me. You get the confidence. Now, money management wise, I'm assuming in the beginning, were you always good with money, or was it just like, you know what, let's have some fun. Let's get nuts.
Man, I think this is the best podcast I've ever done. I
I
really do.
sincerely
I
appreciate
really do, because nobody's ever asked any of this. And believe me, you're asking all the right questions. So
it.
the answer is very good, and it goes deep. The answer is my mom, that was a multimillionaire, successful lumber business, was also a note taker. She used to write notes on her hand. She couldn't find a piece of paper, she wrote it on her hand, man. She was notes. She was organized. I mean, I've got photo albums that my mother did of us that are numbered 1 through about 20 something. My childhood picture all the way to my wrestling stuff. I mean, it's numbered. I've got all of them in my attic. I mean, I'm right now transforming all my pictures over to those digital frames.
Yeah.
So every album is at least out that you can see it, It's not all put up somewhere. My father's drag racing photo albums are this thick, and there's 7 of them. Her organization of attics and closets and OCDness, let's just call it OCD type behavior, is 3/4 or more the reason of my success. So when I first got my first contract, I was making $100,000 a year at 21 years old. A lot of money.
Yeah.
So I remember the very first thing I did, and there's a lot of people that won't even know what this is. It's called a SEP plan. Do you know what a SEP plan is?
I actually do not. You want to enlighten me on that?
It is, yes. It's called. So I go to a major financial place like an AG Edwards, or I can't remember who we went to, but it was a friend we knew, and it was one of those, financial places you go to take care of your money.
Yeah.
And because seeing my parents go broke, I wasn't going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So we go make $100,000 a year. A SEP plan is called a self-employed pension. SEP.
Oh, okay.
Self-employed pension is what it means. And it's a thing that you put, some money in. It's an investment that you put a certain amount of money in, being self-employed, and you make so much money in 10 years. It's like an investment.
Gotcha.
So I instantly had a SEP plan, and instantly my mom was on me about this, but it made sense to me. So for the next 20 years, this was my life, and that was life insurance policies.
Okay.
My mother thought it was crazy for everybody not to have a life insurance policy. So the very first thing I did was I got $500,000 of life, not $500,000, like 200,000 on my mom and dad each. That was all then, just my mom and dad. And it was $500,000. It was 250 for each. So, and instantly I put me as the owner and my brothers as the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
And told them what was going on. This is at 21 years old. Okay. Well, I found out pretty quick that when your wife quits stripping, and which is what got us into the business, got me in, I was able to make it through everything with that. But the goal is I made it in wrestling and she could quit stripping.
Yeah.
So she quits dancing. $100,000 is still a lot of money, but it ain't like you're making bank. So we do what we like. We do what we want. We wash money best we can, but we eat out a lot, and got the SEP plan going. I got life insurance going. I feel like really good for my first year. So the next year, WCW don't do quite so good. I think we even took a pay cut over the next couple of years where we lost 20% of our money. Uh-huh. And then I got a story with that too, where Dallas got 85,000 and I got 80. Yeah. And so I went to Eric Bischoff and I said, how can you tell me that old man is worth $5,000 more than me? And he said, I can't. So he gave me my 20% back. And then Dallas got back even with me by sending, he told Eric to send me to wrestling school. So he got back at me. But my point is, there wasn't enough money that you could be happy, be comfortable, and save a bunch of money. So I did things like the first 2 years of like a 30-year note. A 30-year note, you can make one payment a year toward the principal.
Yeah.
And it takes your 30-year note to a 17.5-year note.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know this, but I would do these type of things that seem realistic. But like me having a savings account, never had one in my life. But me knowing what to do with my money, very cautious from it, because just 3 years ago, I watched my parents go broke. Yep. So I'm very conscious about this. Now I'm driving the car I want. I got a brand new white Corvette. My girl drives. I'm driving a brand new white 91 Jeep. We got 2 white vehicles. Yeah. We think we're cool. We're making money, but we're not cocky. We're just living life. Yeah. Well, I live life for the next, probably for 92, 93, 94. So 4 years there at that home. And then I signed another pretty big contract, couple $100,000, $250,000. And I thought, it's time to get out of here. I want out of my house. So finally, 1998. So I'd been at that home for 9 years, 8.5 years. I was at a place called Chadridge subdivision in Marietta, Georgia. And I am now divorced from my first wife. I'm dating my second wife. Second girlfriend, but going to be my second wife. Sure. And I remember even during that being single, nothing crazy. When I got divorced, the craziest thing I did was I flew me and 5 or 6 buddies first class to a ski trip.
There you go.
And it was, to this day, the best trip of my entire life. It came a blizzard and we had a blast. And to this day, every person who was on that trip would tell you that was one of the funnest things they've ever done in their life. It was a really special time. I did that. That would be like crazy. That's it. I didn't, so then I signed the big contract, the 3-year deal, the big one. And that's when I said, okay, now I'm getting ready to really buckle down here. I built my $1 million house. I'm driving my $1,700 a month Jag payment. Yeah. And now I'm going to buckle down, buddy. I'm going to start saving some money. And within a few months, Vince McMahon bought our company. So, there was really never enough money along the way that, in other words, I have zero regrets. Yep. I think I did everything perfectly. Even the house I built, when I built it, I built it for like $660. It fit under the financial amount of money I was making. It fit under the tax bracket. It wasn't like too much money I spent on my house. It was even the right number of house for the amount of money I was making per year. And so, but I do remember, okay, now that I got the house where it needs to go and I got my car, I'm happy, I'm good. Okay, now I'm going to start really buckling down. Now I was going to really start. I've still got my mom and dad's life insurance policy going, which my brother Steve let get away from us. Whole other podcast. But but long story short, I got to where I couldn't pay the payments anymore, or it was becoming difficult, but I didn't want to waste 15 years. So I went to my brothers and they both helped me. And then my oldest brother decided, well, let's increase them and make them more, because he was doing really well in the car business. Okay. And the next thing I know, my mom calls me up one day crying, and she goes, Stevie, let the life insurance policies lapse. I said, what? Yeah. And so I called my brother. I go, Stevie, please tell me what's going on. He goes, I told mom to tell you. I said, you told mom to tell me what? I said, I didn't call mom to ask you if you wanted to do this. Mom's got nothing to do with this. I called you to pay these bills so we could keep this going until we could all help each other out. We're all involved in this, buddy. Yeah. He let it get away, and we haven't spoke over it since. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it will. So So when we got ready to buckle down and everything, Vince took over, and it was the end. It was over. So I watched my everything that I built, I watched go down, and it created a person that was right on the edge of being a really good drug addict.
Yeah.
When that happened, buddy, it was like, whew, it was like the leash was cut off, man. I had no TV taping to be sober for, no drug test, no nothing. It was just wide open, buddy. And I went wide open for the next 20 years.
Gotcha. Now, in topic of partying wise, because even in any type of industry, the fact of the matter is, and another thing, like we said, how people don't want to admit it, whether it be in sales, whether it be in business, even you could be a pastor, there's partying involved.
Oh yeah.
You do the drugs, the woman, the drinking.
Yeah.
Now, were you a partier earlier on? Was it like something that you'd be doing a couple lines drinking, or did that come kind of as when the money started rolling in, did that vamp up?
No, it really didn't.
Okay.
I would say I was a drug addict pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was not an alcoholic. I got 6 DUIs,
Gotcha.
but none of them are alcohol.
Yeah.
All 6 of my DUIs are drug related. They are pills. Well, they're all pills, but they're either opiates or somas, or mine are called DUI drugs.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can get a DUI for marijuana if you're stoned, you can't talk and stuff. You get pulled over, but I never did that or anything. And same with cocaine. If they can prove that you wasn't paying attention on cocaine, they could give you DUI drugs. But DUI drugs, they don't list which drug it is. They don't care. It's just called DUI drugs. All 6 of my DUIs are DUI drugs. So I don't. I really, from a young age, it was about drugs. I saw that steroids fixed my problem. I saw that a little cocaine my father gave me for football fixed my problem. And I learned that I could take a pill to fix it. So everything I did had a pill. If it was a pill to take for a pill to gain weight, a pill to go to the gym, a pill after the gym, a pill to get ready to eat. And then it was alcohol. And a buddy of mine taught me, hey, if you drink a couple of beers before dinner, you get hungrier. Yeah. And I did it, and I ate the whole menu. I was like, oh my God, this does work. So it's just little things like that over time, man. Before it was over, I was doing a case of beer a day. And not before it was over. This is in the middle. A case of beer a day and 60 pills. I was taking 30 to 40 somas a day, and 10 or 20 Lortabs a day. 50 to 60 pills a day, every day. And the money I was making did help me keep that in stock, because that's very, very expensive. So the first thing my parents came to me with was trying to show me how much money I was wasting on pills. And I remember I didn't want to look at it because I knew it was ugly. But I was, my dad looked around, and my house is perfect. My cars are perfect. I'm perfect, but I'm a drug addict. But how do you tell me I'm doing it wrong? Yeah. I mean, no DUIs, no trouble. I'm rich. I'm in shape. My parents work for me. Everything's perfect. How can you say, Mark, you're doing this wrong? So they didn't know what to do. They just knew that this was not good. It wasn't good what was going on, but nothing was happening bad for them to say, don't do this. So they would try to take the pills, and they would hide them in my big house. And I would call them for like, hey, where's the first pack? Where's the second pack? And we tried everything, and there was nothing. And again, you take that kind of a drug addict, and all of a sudden the pills are gone. I mean, the company's gone, the money's gone. Yeah. And all that went away. And I just dove straight in all the way.
Gotcha. Now, because I'm so fascinated by a lot of people that are in the party atmosphere, what I've come to see is that the addictive personality usually is both in a very good way and a very bad way, and they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
So what I've seen is, someone that does a lot of, even if you take someone who smokes crack all day, right? $300-400 a day sometimes habits somehow, some way, whether it be bad or good, they find a way to hustle to get that fix.
that's right.
And that in itself, the drive with that, a lot of
It's a,
times when they become sober, that same drive actually, when they put it into something else, propels them with the same, like it's extreme, but it works. It could be bad or good. And my question is, so like take me through like a typical day, let's say peak Buff Bagwell, like from the drinks you're having, from the meals you're having, working out, any press conferences, going flying. How were you able to keep it up where you're popping pills? And obviously, because you're getting a little drowsy, you got to come up. You're drinking, you're working out. You obviously the steroid aspect of things. I'm curious, like a typical day, if you want to run me through that. I'm very curious.
I mean, that's a great question. First thing is, as a drug addict, you got to know that if you're a pillhead, an empty stomach to a pillhead is what you search for. It's what you got to have if you want to get high.
Yeah.
Any kind of drug, coke, marijuana, anything. If you eat, it kills your buzz.
Yeah.
But with pills, it rides everything. So what my day looked like for years, a normal average day would have been, let's just say I wasn't doing anything wrestling this day. This is Tuesday morning after Monday Night Nitro. Okay. I wake up Tuesday morning at home. As soon as I wake up, it is 4 lower tabs and 9, and 64, and it'd be 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 4. So it'd be 4 lower tabs. Well, you do 2 and 4 at one time. So you get 2 lower tabs and 4 somas. You throw them down. Now, before I tell you the story, I can't explain how important it was that I did not do liquor during this. I don't know why nobody told me about liquor. I'm glad they didn't, because my career would have been over much sooner.
Yeah.
But I was drinking beer, and brother, there is a huge difference. So I have a case. I drink a case of beer every day. So the first pack of pills, let's call it, would be 4 and 8. So it'd be 8 somas with 4 lower tabs. And I'd take 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is 2 and 4, and you drink for a while, and then you would do the next little bunch, and I would either watch TV, or I didn't sleep good. I hadn't been diagnosed with sleep apnea yet. I didn't have a mask yet. So I'd wake up miserable, wanting to sedate myself because I didn't feel good. Yeah. And this was the way I did it. So I would take the pills. I would drink like 6 or 8 beers. And then after you do that, you eat a big meal.
Okay.
Eat a big meal.
This is breakfast at this point. This is
like, but pro bodybuilder breakfast.
Gotcha.
And again, people think, oh, I got a beer belly. No, you don't. You ain't got a beer belly. You got whatever you eat after that beer belly.
Yeah.
People just blame it. They blame it on the beer. I stay drunk. Every Nitro you see, I was not drunk on the show at all, but I was drinking a case of beer that day with this regimen, I'm telling you, and I was shredded, because it's got nothing to do with the beer. It's got to do with what you eat after that beer. So so then I would eat a big pro bodybuilder breakfast and go to sleep. I'd wake up drowsy and hungover, kind of, not really hungover, but just, sedated. So it was Rip Fuels. You take 2 Rip Fuels, a couple cups of coffee, to the gym. And again, this motivated me to such a level I can't explain. Like, because I did what I did just an hour ago, I feel guilty for it. So now this is my punishment. My punishment is I'm going to go train my ass off. So it was to the gym. It was a chest by itself, but for an hour, and then 30 minutes of cardio on the Stairmaster. So it took me about an hour, 45 minutes at the gym. by the time you're done. And when I got into the car, it was the second party.
Gotcha.
Now you've burned that whole breakfast off. You're ready to go, man, for a good open stomach buzz. And you go right back in the party. And second party, you ride that party out, another 4 and 8. You ride that party out. And then huge, big bodybuilder lunch, another nap. The third party, I just threw in, but really it was a waste of a lot of pills because now you got a big meal on your stomach. So I would get another party, another meal, and then I'd get a shake or another meal in before I went to bed. So I had 4 to 5 protein intakes a day.
Gotcha.
And that was an average day for me. You throw in tanning, you throw in tanning, and that was my day, minus one little sticky pad of 4 or 5 notes I had to take care of
Gotcha.
picking something up, haircut, whatever the little notes were I had to get done that day. That was what I did every single day. Tuesday was chest, Tuesday was back, Wednesday was legs, Thursday was shoulders, Fridays was arms. But same regiment. It's really difficult to be a pillhead and a bodybuilder because you've got to eat to look like Buff Bagwell, but you got to have an empty stomach to party. So it was a crazy juggling act that I did that you could not have told me I was doing it wrong because I trained harder than you've ever seen before. I trained so hard because of this regiment. I knew what was coming with the partying. So I made sure I had a great workout so I didn't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I rode that not guilty and get messed up after my workout, reward myself from working out. I rode that for 20 years, brother.
Yeah. Now, no uppers in this, huh? Not really anything to keep up. That's what makes me that's very shocking to me.
If a bag of Coke passed by, of course I did a bump or so, but it just wasn't. That would have been like, oh my God, I'll lose weight with that. Somas, you never keep in mind, anybody that's usually a pillhead, they're usually losing weight also, but not with me. I still dedicated myself. I mean, think about this. I'm telling 100% the truth right now. What if I hadn't been drinking? I wonder how good I could have looked.
No, agreed.
I mean, brother, it was a case of beer a day. And then 2010-ish, I would say, is when I learned about vodka. And it was bad. It was a bad thing to learn. I just didn't know. I just thought alcohol was alcohol. But me staying on beer probably saved my life. I didn't know about liquor. I mean, I'd do a shot at a bar or something, but that's it. I didn't know that about it. I went from that to, buying the handles. I just didn't know about it. And beer really is beer and alcohol, beer and liquor. They're really, really different.
I agree. All right, Buff, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll get another sesh.
Okay. So
right,
come back on.
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay,
right,
buddy.
Perfect. All right, Mark. So we just finished a typical day in the life of that. And like you were saying, what could you have even been? And it's impressive in itself, the fact that you were able to maintain what you maintained with that.
Yeah, I really think that for starters, I'm not sure of anybody out there that heard that story that would believe it. And again, I'm not here to try to make you believe what I did. I'm just trying to tell you that I got one of the best memories on the planet, and that's exactly what I did, except the pills would vary, the amount of pills, but the amount of alcohol, the amount of the schedule I had was exactly the same week to week. And it was all about looking as good as I could look. Now, looking as good as you can look and you're an addict, that's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. I had it down to a science. I had it down to where that it could be done. But I'm not sure people would actually believe what I just told them, that I could do that and look the way I did. I'm just telling you, that's what I did, and I was able to. But it was not easy. It was very, very hard.
Gotcha. Now, was there ever a time? I know you said most of the time you never really went on stage rather, ring drunk. But was there ever a time? Because most people know you went a little too overboard, and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm really out of it." And like, let's just say a story that sticks out to you that you had to kind of get through it and how you did it.
Well, I don't know how we did. I guess just because we were so scared at WCW
Yeah.
to not blow it, and plus I was proud. I was a very proud person of what I had done, and I was proud and glad about WCW. So I didn't want to mess up anything. But there was times that, even thinking back, I remember having beer in the locker room, but it just wasn't. There was never a time on WCW where I was like, oh boy, because the regiment was you would get the party over with, and then during the stage where you would normally go to the gym, that was kicking out for TV. So when I would show up to Nitro, I was probably lit,
Yeah.
and maybe people knew it, maybe they didn't. But then you would get to the building, you know, lay down, sleep, eat catering, and so it would be digest a catering, and digest, and then one more catering meal, and then digest again to go into. So I was extremely sober by the time I was on television. The first time I did, one of the first times, and maybe only times I did it was in front of people, was I was in Knoxville, Tennessee at a zoo.
Hmm.
And I messed up. I didn't mean to do it. And the crowd knew that I was drunk. And I remember I was really embarrassed, really devastated. But again, not enough to stop. I wasn't going to quit. But I do remember that. I was very mad at myself. But that's the only time, honest to God. And that was like 2010 or something. So
So this
it
is
was
already
crazy.
kind of this is
Yeah.
way later. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, cool. And now just real quick, just because I'm curious, I'm into fitness as well. I'm just curious, what's a pre-show meal like real quick? Because you can't eat something heavy, obviously. You'll feel like, garbage when you're out there. What's like a typical like pre-show meal?
Well, believe it or not, with the way I was dieting, I would do as zero carbs as you can for 6 days a week. This is when we just had Monday Night Nitro. Okay, there was no Thunder yet, so Monday Night Nitro's coming, and it's Tuesday. Tuesday all day long. Tuesday, I do not take in one bite of fibrous carbohydrates. In other words, it's broccoli, cauliflower, no bread, pastas, rices, no carbs. On the back of cans, you read them because green beans has 6 grams of carbs in one cup of them. Green peas has 40 grams of carbs in a cup. So you got to read the back of everything to make sure. But nobody can do zero carbs. Nobody, because there's 2 grams of carbs in a piece of bubble gum.
Yeah.
So I would do as zero as a human body could do, staying away from fibrous carbohydrates like oatmeal, pastas, all the thick, good stuff. And then you ride that diet with 230, that's what I weighed,
Okay.
230 grams of protein each day. You ride that diet, and then what you've got to learn about your body is 2 or 3 days before, no, a day and a half to 2.5 days before Nitro, you carb load. And when you do, you shocking your body the way it does, what happens is you get real vascular, and you blow back up from being kind of flat, and it just engulfs you with size and water, and you also get vascular for about a 24-hour period. I could wake up Monday morning on Nitro Day, and I knew either I was dialed in or I wasn't. I'd either just missed, or it was a lot of Tuesday mornings I woke up shredded. And there was a lot of Monday mornings I woke up shredded, ready to go, but sometimes you miss. It was the human body's tough. But
Yeah.
part of my meal would have been all protein, just some chicken breast protein. And then I'd eat one piece of pie.
Interesting. Okay.
Either pie or dessert.
Sugar, probably.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Lex did Skittles.
Yeah.
So the Skittles he would do about 3 hours before. I would do the cake about 3 hours before. And the difference, like the before after picture difference, was amazing.
That's wild.
It was amazing. Then hot stuff, and then you warm up, and it was ready to go.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad to know that. See, this is the inner fan of me asking, because I also do the workout part of things. And how much? What's your height? I get your 6
feet. I'm 5'10", 5'11".
Okay. Yeah. So you were 230 at your peak?
228, 230 was my body weight at my peak.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. No, that's great. I'm 6'5".
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
It makes you have it's the more you could put on a lot of muscle, it doesn't, like a shorter person, you see it more. But I fluctuate like from 2 to 210. I want to get to that, like,
sure,
230 mark.
That's a tough height, man. It's a tough. My brother was just 6'3" or 6'4".
Yeah.
And the difference, he was 260 and he looked 230.
Yeah.
I was 230 and looked 290. Because of your height.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we got that going, and so another thing too. I mean, in the summer I get really tan, but I'm curious this, because no one asks you this. You were pretty tan all the time, not like, because sometimes you see wrestlers kind of looks like they got a little too burned, or like they didn't do it, but you had like an even tan. What was your tanning schedule like? Like was it a couple days a week, or just not like?
It would blow your mind, but it just blows my mind that these wrestlers, and I mean superstar wrestlers that are on right now.
Yeah.
They raise their arms and their underarms are white.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it really upsets me when I see this. I mean, if I was tanning for 12 minutes, 6 minutes, I raise my arms.
Okay.
So you got to raise your arms to look even, man. You got to look even. But the magic potion that me and Scott Steiner and Lex and a lot of guys use, the magic potion, we tan with our arms up half the time. So we're always tan under here. And you'll notice from that, now that I've told you, you'll really start noticing that all guys are at least a little whiter there. Some are totally white. But if you're listening, wrestlers, raise your hand, stupid. So, and not just a little bit, half the time, or it won't look even. So from a very young age, because of Lex Luger being such a great person and knowledgeable about all this stuff, he taught me to raise my arms because it looked better on TV. So half the time you raise your arms, all that. But the piece that put it all together was a product called Hot Stuff.
Okay.
It was a product that went on like the spray, and it was hot. It smelled like icy hot.
Gotcha.
It had some kind of icy hot material that made you red. It reddened you, and but it also caused vascularity to come to your skin, like your veins would come up. So the combination of the dieting and then that cheat meal, and then boom, you hit that spray on your skin, man, it was like, I mean, I was so tight that I feel like I was going to rip something. I was so lean and tight. Yeah. But it smelled like Bengay. It smelled horrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of the wrestlers hated it because it smelled bad. And some of them claimed to be allergic to it. That spray actually got outlawed by the WWE.
Oh.
when I went to the WWE for that 2-week period, I mean, they were all over me about it. You can't use it. You can't use it. So I tried to water it down. They still would smell it. And, WCW, they let us use it, but they outlawed it at the WWE.
Gotcha. So it was like
that would, even like your neckline that wasn't even or something, you could rub it on your, I mean, I rubbed, whoever did me, they knew better. They knew to get my neck and everything. So I was even from the head to toe. I am the same color,
Yeah.
And that hot stuff really spread it out.
Cool. So it was like tanning, I guess, like 2, 3 times a week at the gym, or
I would say I tan twice. It wasn't three for sure. Like
okay.
today, I stay real dark now, and I
Yeah.
tan once a week.
Gotcha.
But I know I sprayed some, so it'd be like tan twice one week. Maybe the next week was lay-in spray, and then but it was never an everyday thing. It was never a 3 times a week thing. It was definitely a twice a week deal.
Cool. Righty. So that was everything on that end. So let's go back into now more of the business and side of things.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, did you have a manager at this time? You used your mother, correct?
Yeah, she was a
Okay.
manager for really all my stuff, and
Gotcha.
I never made enough money that I needed really like a manager of my money. If my career would have continued, I think I probably would have needed something like that. But we're at the amount of money I'd made to the junction of 1999, 2000, and then 2001. At that junction, I'm making 400,000 a year, $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and been handling money from one, two, three, four, up and as it's been going. So it ain't like it's a bunch of money to me. It's just I've got a slight raise, and now I'm gonna start saving money. But the manager thing wasn't really necessary. It wasn't enough money I was making yet.
Gotcha. And now, in terms of contract negotiations with WCW, obviously, the more you draw on, I assume, then they would renegotiate your salary. Was there ever a time that I know you mentioned earlier on when Dallas he got the raise? Was there multiple times that you would go in and ask for more, and how you would go about doing that in the negotiation setting? What was your outlook on that?
It seems like there was 1,000 of those meetings, but you really got to think of. But if you think about it, it was just 10 years.
Yeah.
So I remember like signing a 1 year deal, and then I signed a couple year deal, and there was a middle contract. But then after that middle, keep in mind, nobody cared who we were.
Yeah.
So the only contract I signed that mattered, that I was really trying to make some money here. I was over, and it's time for me to have that contract that I'm making money.
Yeah.
That contract came, and it was the last contract I signed. So it was a 3 year deal. It was 3, 4, 5, or something like that. But it was like 3.1 million was what, or no, see, I did a YouTube thing on this. I can't remember the exact money, but I added it all up. But it was a 3 year deal, and I hand shook on that deal and then broke my neck.
Yes.
So Eric called me in the hospital and goes, "I know you're not worried about this." I go, "Eric, yes, I am." He goes, "Well, I'll carry it right to the hospital." So the deal we talked about, which was I think it was 1.1 million 3 year deal. No, that they pay for rental cars, they pay for hotels and first class ticketing.
Wow.
I turn to this thick.
Yeah.
I turn to the back page and make sure all of that's correct.
Yeah.
And sign it. Didn't care about nothing else because nothing else mattered. This guy is giving me 1.1 before my neck surgery.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that's why I love Eric Bischoff, and he's right. I still could have been something, but I didn't wrestle. I could have been a manager. I could have been an active part of the company, but we didn't know. So he trusted me, and I respected him so much for that. But we so I signed the deal and got the courier to get it back to him, and but there really, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of that going on, because it ain't like when you hear your contract, you don't go back in for a renewal. It ain't like NFL.
Gotcha.
You sign your deal and you shut up for a year.
I got
You shut up for a year. It ain't like, well, he's making that. Now you heard all of it. Well, Booker signed this, and Stevie got that with him because he's his brother, and all the rumors. But that's shame on you then, if you didn't ask for that money. But so it was all whatever you heard in that year,
Yeah.
you wrote down, kept up with, and you could use that for your contract negotiations when your contract was up.
Gotcha. All right, great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the marketing side of things, because you're famous at, you were a character in itself. And so, like I was saying, I wanted to take this angle with you. Buff Bagwell is a brand like any other brand. It's brand. You built the brand, you market the brand. So I know the famous hat and everything like that. Was this all something that it came as time went on? Is this something like I need to get a new edge, a new gimmick? What was your angle in terms of, strategies to build your brand? Was there publicists and promoters that were helping you in this internally, or is all you?
Well, a couple of things. One, you got to realize nobody cared who WCW was. Nobody cared. I didn't have an action figure until 93, maybe. Okay. 94, maybe 95. I don't know, but it ain't like it was instantly. So you're talking about 5 years total right now. So that's only 5 years we're talking about. So you're talking about 5 years, and there's no computers.
Yeah.
There's catalogs. So you had no idea how to keep up with it. There was no way to see if they you go by the place, you go by where they're selling action figures at the venue, and you would complain about where your action figure was to make sure that they at least had it visible. But as far as they would mail you a thing like this, a receipt at the end of each month telling you how many they sold and stuff. You had no idea. And it was like $30. $30. Merchandise, nobody cared about their merchandise because we didn't have any. So they would try to use that, in our negotiations of contracts. We were like, look, you don't got no merchandise.
Yeah. So
the only thing that really got popular for me, and again, you got to remember, without computers. So it was daylight and dark, but without computers, I came up with that hat that I wore backwards, not the top hat, the Kangoo or kangaroo hat.
Yeah.
That you wore backwards. That had the little button for the front, and you spun it around. I wore that, had NWO on it. That was my hat, and I was getting it marketed in the catalog, and Eric took it from me. He goes, "We're gonna make that the WCW hat." And at the time, you don't care because I just signed a $1.1 million deal. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, take it, So they called it but I did complain some because I remember they paid me one lump sum to sign a bunch. Me and Kevin and Scott did some kind of one of those stores on television. What's that channel called?
The Home Shop?
Home Shopping Network.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I was on there one time during Christmas, and every hat I signed, they gave me a percentage of, and I made a big chunk of change on just that one thing. But from that point on, I never knew why, but they didn't make any, it wasn't Buff Bagwell hat no more. And like my top hat, for example, if I worked for Vince, there would have been 10,000 top hats at every show. Are you kidding? I'd have made millions of dollars on that top hat.
Yeah.
Your face painted on the top. Are you kidding? WWF would have took that and made me a billionaire off just the top hat. So it's crazy on the marketing part of it, but marketing wasn't a thing back then. I came up with a top hat only because I broke my neck. I broke my neck and I lost 50 pounds. And I was trying, what came out of me losing 50 pounds was overalls and a top hat.
Get their eyes off it. Is that what you're?
And it worked. And it worked. The top hat worked and the overalls worked. It kept me covered up with a shirt. So you really couldn't tell that I lost 50, but I lost 50 pounds, buddy.
Wow.
And I put it all back on and was ripped and shredded. And it was it how long? 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 months.
Well, even so, I mean, that's impressive to
Yeah.
bounce back like that, a rebound like
Am
that.
I saying that right? 10 months. Yeah. So 3 months. I couldn't touch a weight for 3 months. And then I got back in the ring in 10 months. So that's looking back on it, that's like, wow. But that's a long time. I was thinking maybe 3 weeks. No, it was 3 months. I couldn't touch a weight. I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. And then by the time the Dean Dome, now I was back in shape before the 10 months, but I couldn't wrestle yet.
Yeah.
So I was ripped, I was shredded, I was big, I was ready to go, but I wasn't released yet from the doctor. So then they released me like a couple weeks early to wrestle Goldberg and Rick Steiner.
Now, a curious question: when you were recovering itself, did you stop all the cycling with stuff like that? Is it so? Not only you're not working out, you're not doing that. You probably felt really like down. I would assume.
Huge, great question, and a huge part of everything. So the when you break your neck, buddy, and you're paralyzed, there's just a whole new segment here, man. This has brought light on a whole new thing. So I'm listening to everything this doctor says, and of course, if it didn't make sense, I would have questioned it. But his point was, look, I know you're a wrestler, and by the way you probably take steroids. So I said I do, and he goes, well, for this, I need you to let your body heal this thing naturally.
Yeah.
And I said, what? He goes, 0 steroids and 0 working out for 3 months.
Yeah.
Again, I lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And man, I was depressed. 3 months and one day, not 3 months and 3 days, 3 months and one day. And him saying by an x-ray, your neck is fused. I went to the gym and did chest and triceps. And it was the weirdest work. I mean, brother, it's 10 months, but 10 months of the last remember I have is I was paralyzed. So it was just a very scary thing to do. And is this okay? And does that hurt? I'm not sure. And so from going to that to being 230 and shredded again, that's a big deal.
Right on. Oh, I'm glad everything you did bounce back, no doubt.
Yes.
All right, so I kind of want to go over your rise, your fall, and I would like to say within the last few years, resurgence.
Yeah,
a
sure.
big resurgence. So I mean,
Absolutely.
When you finally reached the peak of WCW, when was the moment when you realized, you know what, I've arrived, like I'm here? When was the moment? Was there anything that popped out of saying, you know what, I think I made it? I'm where I want to be.
I think the Buff Bagwell name. I think that's when I felt. I'd been world champion. I was rookie of the year. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was figured in. But I felt like I was a star when I figured out the Buff name. That's when I felt like I was. I'm in first class for a reason. I'm actually making a difference now. I'm Buff Bagwell. So yeah, I think the name.
Gotcha.
I think the name made me feel like that was where I was done.
All right, now when you got let go of the WWE, WWF at the time, whatever. I think it was WWE, right? Or WWF?
No, it would have been WWF.
Okay.
It's real close, though.
So, obviously you spiral into the addiction, you have the financial setback, and, I guess in terms of dealing with it, I would say you dealt with it kind of, would you say more so the drugs, the alcohol? How did you deal with it mentally and physically? It definitely takes a toll on someone's psyche when you go from this to this within such a short period of time, if I could say so.
Oh, absolutely. So I think the thing that was bad for me is that it was obvious that I got screwed. In other words, most everybody knew. Even a person that don't know was like, wait a minute, where did Buff go? That was your person that don't know anything. But the people that knew a little bit knew that I got the raw end of the deal, man, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and again, I don't know anybody. I don't have anybody above Bagwell status that would get fired without being warned about anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I just knew that there was no way they could fire me when I hadn't even gotten in trouble for anything. There's no way it wasn't a warning. There wasn't a, hey, you better do this different. Hey, we need this out of you. It was just get out. So it was devastating to me. But the reason why I think it was worse the way it came to me was because I felt like I deserved to get messed up. In other words, I wasn't beating myself up. People would see me messed up and go, "Man, did you hear what happened to him?" You know, they would almost agree with me. They were almost like, "Brother, I'm with you, man. Do your thing, buddy." So nobody was really trying to help me. Everybody would try to help me would be like, "Man, that is a bad deal," you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So it was really a double edged sword, man. And so I had no remorse. I had no regret. I got effed, and and people knew it. So I was going to stay effed up because of it. And that was the reason I told myself. And that's what happened. And it happened for 20 years.
Gotcha. Well, you know, like many people of success, like many entrepreneurs, you're going to have your highs, your lows.
Yeah.
You built yourself back up.
Yeah.
That's something to definitely, commend on that. And so leading into another thing, relationship wise, if you don't mind me asking, if not, we could. So obviously you mentioned you had a few wives, life on the road. There was different stages that definitely impacted relationship wise, whether your lifestyle being too busy, the substance abuse,
Yeah.
just business. And then I assume even when, you lost a lot of it, that definitely had a strain on a lot of things. And of course, women on the road as well. How would you say that at the different time, how does it really impact the relation? How do you keep a relationship is what I'm curious about.
It was tough.
Yeah.
When I got my first divorce, I told her that I messed up on the road and we tried to work it out and couldn't. Marriage and wrestling's tough. Marriage in any entertainment type business is tough. And as young as I was, I just wasn't ready for that. The second marriage, I really thought that I was, ready, but we were really good friends. But I learned a lesson on that one is if you don't love somebody, you can't learn to love them. And that was my second learning of that. The third wife, I really thought I found a good person and was married, happily married for years, but there was something missing there too. I just didn't quite know it. And I was still constantly, staying messed up and just couldn't kick out. And I tried rehabs and all that. And I just wasn't, it just wasn't, something was missing, and then finally, when I really get my life finally turned around and this person coming in it's been spectacular. I mean, from the moment I met her, I felt like it was different for sure. But looking back on it, I fell in love with her the moment I met her. And that's after, three marriages and three wives, and she's over three as well with her marriages. And we both have found something new and wonderful in each other. And that neither one of us thought was out there. I mean, she was a 53-year-old woman. She was done. She has three daughters and 10 grandchildren. She was done with men. She was done. And then I come along. So it was a change for both of us, but one that we didn't see coming. But yeah, you put good things out in this world, and I can promise you, maybe not when you want them to, but good things come back. You just got to stay at it.
Right on. You look very happy too, and I wish you both the best.
Thank you, brother.
Now, to wrap everything up,
okay,
what? Let's just say we've covered a lot of material here today, which thanks so much on that. And,
I love it.
So, what would you say right now? You always had goals. You've achieved the pinnacle. You've went down. You're on the resurgence back. What are your current goals right now? What is your year plan? Where do you want to be 12 months from now?
Great question. So 12 months from now, I want to be at 80,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And I want to be in the best shape I've been in 10 years. That's shape, and YouTube is my 1 year goal. And then my future goal has I would love to have a WWE Legends deal. And then before it's all said and done, I would love to be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Love to hear that. Now, if you had a couple of words of advice to anybody, whether it be they're getting into wrestling, whether they're just living their life, a young man, what would you say in one sentence to sum it up?
No matter what your plan is, make God your number one priority.
Amen. I like that. All right, Buff. So other than that, this was awesome. And
Thanks,
now, do you
brother.
have anything coming up that you would like to share with everybody that, any future plans, projects, things you're working on?
I don't, but check these out. I got the red pants and the black pants. I got action figures. I got top hats. This is my number one protein in the world, Blackstone Labs. When you go to Blackstone Labs, if you put Buff20 in the code, you get 20% off. Blackstone Labs is incredible. Marcus Buff Bagwell. You go there, you can find this too, but at Marcus Buff Bagwell at Gmail, you can email me and I'll get in touch with you. That's how Philip found me. You email me at marcusbuffbagwell at Gmail. But these are at marcusbuffbagwell.com. Marcusbuffbagwell.com is my store. Check it out. And all the platforms are Marcus Buff Bagwell. So check it out, man. And just know that I really check my own emails. I stay in touch with everybody. And I just love the fans that stuck with me during this sobriety thing. And I'll be coming to a city near you, I'm sure.
Mark, Buff the Stuff Bagwell, thank you for your time. I'm sure we'll be in touch again. And other than that, you have a great evening, all right?
Thanks, Philip.
All right, talk soon.
Bye-bye.
All righty.